Hello, everyone. Greetings from in Uni, UK. Thank you so much for joining our webinar today. My name is Degina Wetherill, and I'm the Director of International Students Recruitment within in Uni UK Division, a company of global university systems overseeing international students recruitment for our UK partner universities. And we are actually actively accepting applications for our partner universities in the UK currently. So that includes Canterbury Christchurch University and Hartpury University, which I will mention briefly a little bit later on as well, because I can see people are still joining. Today, we will in fact be covering one of the most important topics when it comes to applying to study in the UK, and that is compliance. And I am joined here by our admissions and compliance manager, Saule. Thank you so much for joining, who will be guiding you through the preparation that you need to go through consultations, pre-CAS interviews, potential UKVI interviews. As you know, those can happen, especially in specific situations that may happen more often. So it's really important that you are prepared for every stage of your application process. So before we start, I guess a few housekeeping rules. You're all on mute. If you'd like to ask any question whatsoever, please feel free to pop them into the Q&A section. So that's Q&A section rather than chat section. And we will take them from there at the end of the webinar. So I really hope you can stay with us till the end of this webinar. Other than that, sit back and enjoy, and I really hope you find this webinar very, very helpful. And while Saule is sharing her screen, a quick reminder that we still have May intake for Canterbury Christchurch University, for which we offer two major programs, the popular ones, which is MBA and MSc International Business. If you haven't applied yet, please do speak to your educational advisor and submit your application. If you have already applied and received initial conditional offer letter, then please ensure you have prepared for consultation, which hopefully this webinar will help you with, and also submit your missing documents at the earliest so that we can take your application to the next stage of the process. The great news is we've kept the same tuition fees as last year for May intake specifically. So that's £15,500 prior to scholarships and discounts. In addition to that, all international students receive £1,500 international award. You can also benefit from early bird discount, which is either £500 if you pay 10K prior to enrollment, or £1,000 if you pay your outstanding fees in full prior to enrollment. And in most of cases, for majority of regions, it's the same deposit as previous year, which is £5,000. But again, please do contact your advisors. So depending on where you're coming from, the deposit may vary slightly, just to ensure that you have high chances of visa success. All right. So potentially you can benefit from £2,500 overall discount on your 15.5K fees, meaning bringing the tuition fee down to £13,000 only. A quick reminder, Canterbury is only within 1 hour from London, making it quite an attractive destination for international students. So you can either stay on campus accommodation, which is much more affordable than London, let's say. So it's 400 up to £600 for accommodation in Canterbury. Or if you perhaps have relatives or friends and would prefer to stay in London, then you can simply commute to Canterbury a few times a week to attend your classes and to obviously use the facilities of the university as well. At the same time, we are also actively accepting applications for Canterbury University, which is more specialized university. And those of you who have attended our webinars or maybe listened to recordings, if not, why not? We're happy to share them once again. Please go through those recordings. They're very, very educational and inspiring. The university is only 2 hours from London, and it offers programs like equine science, agriculture, sports sciences, and there are business programs as well as veterinary. So please do reach out to our advisors on the ground. We will be happy to support you with further information. And like I said, please do go through our YouTube channels where you can find more webinars, recordings, and we're happy to share also further links with you to ensure that you are aware about the university. There are also a number of scholarships available for September 2026 intake for Canterbury. So please submit your application as soon as possible so we can start making your assessment. And then you can potentially also apply for great scholarships that are there. And also for CCCU, so for Canterbury Christchurch University, you can already submit your applications for September 2026 intake as well. And that would normally include a full range of programs they offer, starting from bachelor's. There are great subject areas apart from business. We see a lot of interest in global public health, nursing, social work, computer science, data science related programs. There are some postgraduate programs that also include placement options as well. So please do reach out for further information. And we run webinars for Canterbury Christchurch University quite regularly. So you can learn a little bit more about those programs, as well as, again, I do strongly encourage you to revisit our previous webinars recordings for CCCU and for Canterbury, just to make sure that you are fully aware about both offerings. And obviously, if any further questions, the team on the ground is happy to support. All right, I'll stop talking now and I'll pass it over to Sauli to talk about compliance, which is incredibly important. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dagina, for introduction and for introduction of the two partner universities that are really, really exciting. Sometimes I wish I could be a student again just to go to these universities, really. But today we're going to speak about UK student interviews. I know firsthand these can be daunting and it might be nerve-wracking to attend them. But sometimes dissecting what's perhaps worrying you really does help to get the worry away. And confidence in your interview is one of the key points you need to take. So today in this webinar, we're going to have an overview of UK student interviews. So what kind of interviews you may encounter in your student journey. It doesn't mean you will have all of the interviews. You might just have one, you might have all of them, but it's important to know which interviews exist and who needs to go to which one. Obviously, in your student journey, you will be informed which interviews you will have to attend, but it's good to know in advance as well. So there's the pre-CAS interview, the consultation before the pre-CAS interview, the UKVI, and subject interviews. We're also going to speak about how interview outcomes are assessed and what interviewers are actually looking for, who is required to attend which interview, and why you may not need all of them, and key do's and don'ts during the interview, most common mistakes made by the applicants. And I will also like to address a few myths that I currently hear from students, some misconceptions about the interviews. So let's start with the type of interviews. What interviews you may encounter while going through your student journey to UK. So the first one is consultation. So this is the initial discussion to understand your background, course choices, and suitability before the deeper assessment, which is the pre-CAS interview. Now, the pre-CAS interview is conducted usually by the university, but sometimes university partners, such as in uni, to verify the student if the student is genuine and understand their study plans before issuing CAS. There's also the academic interview, although rare, also really important. It's taken by the faculty to check academic preparedness and subject knowledge for the chosen course. And there's also the UKVI, the visa interview. So that this one is conducted by UKVI to confirm the students meet immigration requirement and is a genuine student. So as you probably already know, the UKVI interview is the one determining if you're going to get a visa, acceptance or rejection. Now you can treat all of these interviews really although they're all qualifying interviews and you might pass them or you might fail them, meaning that your student journey would end there, sometimes you could even get a second attempt with a feedback of how to prepare for the next interview. So, in a way, UKVA interview is the last interview in your journey. It depends on your profile if you will get it, but the consultation, use it to prepare for a pre-CAS interview. Use it to practice as it's the quickest one. The pre-CAS interview and the academic interview, it's again an opportunity for you to speak with someone from an academic background to prepare for your UKVA interview as well. So try not to look at these as very separate entities, but building up your profile, building up your journey to UK. So who is required to attend which interview? So the first thing I would like to say is if you're invited to more interviews than perhaps your friends, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's a problem. More interviews, it just means that there's more confirmation required. It doesn't mean that you did something wrong. It does not mean that you performed badly on the first one. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with your profile. It could be based on the university. It could be based on the region you're coming from, or even from the patterns, for example, from UKVI, that we wouldn't be privy with the information. So just because you have more interviews than you think others have, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a problem. Sometimes it's actually a good opportunity for you to also meet with the university and understand about it more. So the amount of interviews depend on your profile and not luck. Let's start with the consultations. So consultations are usually the very first interview you would encounter in your student journey if you're required. So whether you need a consultation will depend on the university you have applied to and the region you're coming from. There could be other situations, but these are the main two. They're really short. It's up to 15 minutes. However, I saw students passing it in 5. I saw students passing it in 35 minutes. What it depends on? Really, it depends on you as a student. Some like to speak more. Sometimes are more. Some students are more scarce with their answers. So it's about 5 to 6 questions, a few follow-up questions, and for majority, it's up to 15 minutes. It's a conversation about your motivation and intent. So there's no need to prepare for it as if it's a test or an exam. It's really just a conversation between you and an interviewer. However, you still should have your passports ready. No matter which interview you are invited to, always have your passports ready to verify during the interview, whether it's consultation, pre-CAS, UKVI, etc. You will always need your passport. Students should be ready to speak about university, study programs, and their goals. Stay tuned with the webinar because later we're also going to speak about the most common questions and how to prepare for them. But for now, all you need to know that this is the shortest consultation is the shortest interview, and it's a conversation, not a test. Now there's also the pre-CAS interview. Again, if the pre-CAS interview is needed, will mostly depend not on you, not on your profile, but on the university requirements overall. So at the moment in United Kingdom, I'd say probably all universities require a pre-CAS interview. If previously, when we first started giving interviews 10 years ago, it was maybe 20%, that grew into 50% of the universities. Today, it's almost all universities conducting pre-CAS interviews. So what are they? So these are the interviews conducted online, and it's usually by the university. It happens after your offer, but before the pre-CAS process starts. It's usually short, around 10 to 30 minutes in length. Again, the length will depend on your profile, where you're coming from, on the course you have applied, and also really on how long your answers tend to be. So why do pre-CAS interviews take place? It's the university's time to meet you as a student, as an applicant, to understand why you chosen them and why did you choose the course of study. Universities also have a duty to ensure that all students who join them to study have a genuine intention to study while they're with while they're with them in the UK. So what happens during the pre-CAS interview? So you will be asked a short set of questions. From my experience, it's usually from 7 to 10 questions. Again, some follow-up questions might take place. And these questions are picked randomly, and follow-up questions are asked based on the conversation. So I get this a lot when people come to me and ask, so what are the questions I'm going to be asked? The reality is that in none of the interviews, there's a preset of questions. Interviewers improvise during your interview. So you need to be prepared with your research, prepared for the most common interview questions, but unfortunately, we cannot know the set questions. Now, how to prepare and the most common ones, again, we're going to go a bit later in the presentation. Now, there's also the UKVI interview. So what is the UKVI interview? It's a gradability interview, and it's a mandatory part for UK student visa process for some applicants. So you might not be invited and you might be invited. It really depends on your profile. It's designed to check whether a student is a genuine applicant who intends to study and then return to their home country. So when and why does it happen? It usually takes place after the visa application is submitted and before the decision is made. It's triggered by certain risk indicators, such as region, study gap, poor English, vague SOPs, and other patterns. Now, I know it might look scary, risk indicators, and then your interview is triggered. Does that mean that you're bound to fail the interview? Absolutely not. We see dozens, hundreds of students really passing this interview. Just because the interview is triggered by a risk indicator, it doesn't mean that you're a risky student. It just means the patterns align to the point that you need to take this interview. If you are a genuine student that is well prepared and confident with your application, you shouldn't have anything to worry about. So UKVI uses it to assess the applicant's, again, motivation, preparedness, and honesty. So what are interviewers looking for? Whether it be consultation, pre-CAS, or UKVI, they're looking for genuine students. So students that are not using study as a way to immigrate and stay in the UK indefinitely. They're looking for well-informed students that understand the course, university, and location of the university. Capable as well, has the language skills and academic ability, honest, no contradictions or red flags, and financially prepared. Clear understanding of their fundings. So how to be ready for your interview? So number one, tell your interviewer your genuine reasons for choosing the university and course of study, not what you think sounds good. So I hear this a lot in interviews, and I hear students doing this a lot. They lie in an interview not because they don't have a good answer, but because they heard somewhere that if you say specific ABC thing in an interview, you're more likely to pass. The only thing that is going to make you more likely to pass an interview is the truth, your truth. Why did you want to study in the university? Not why ChatGPT said you should study, not why your mom said you should study, not why your agent said you should study, not what Reddit, YouTube, etc., insert another platform here, said you need to study, but why do you want to study? That's the correct answer. Do not read off a script or any other prep material. have a conversation instead. So a quick note as well that cheating during an interview, any of them, would have your file rejected. So it wouldn't be an interview rejected, it would be your file and your further opportunities to ever interview rejected. Unfortunately, recently I see a lot of students, a lot more students trying to cheat and ruining their opportunities for the future. I see videos online on social media advising students how to cheat, and myself as a professional who has been interviewing for more than 10 years, I'm looking at these methods and not one would work. I know how they're conducted, I know how they're assessed, and it's a pity to see so much misinformation going online, knowing that genuine students might be rejected just because they listened for a faulty advice online. So make sure also you're knowledgeable about the course you've chosen, and interviewers want to hear how the course you've chosen fits into your academic or career goals as well. And perhaps the most important note, be prepared, but be yourself. Do your research, but do your research, not somebody else's. Be honest, be yourself, don't be scripted. We can smell a script miles away. Sometimes a student comes into an interview and after 2, 3 sentences, we can hear that the student is scripted. And then if you were scripted for at least a bit of an interview, you have no chance. Because scripted students will get rejected because scripted is deemed as lying. Scripted is deemed as not speaking in your own words. How can we recognize scripted students? Well, if I need to be very honest, when you're interviewing for so long and you interviewed thousands, if not more students, you hear it right the same second, it becomes like an instinct. But it's also the robotic voice, the cut sentences, the English level differentiating massively from your English test results to how you actually sounded in an interview. Your English level being so different from, let's say, your SOP, statement of purpose. It's the students having so much filler words where they're looking where that they've written their text on the table, how to read it quickly. It's really, really visible. I always like to say that there's a reason why good actors are rich and so loved around the world. Because acting is not easy. It's really, really, really hard to sell somebody else's words as yours. Don't believe that you can train yourself within a week to do so in an interview. We can smell a bad actor from miles away. And another important thing to remember is it's better to have a short, vague answer than a scripted one. I see students who say in the interview, I'm not sure, I don't know, I need to do more research, or having a vague answer pass the UKVI, the pre-CAS interview. I never see a scripted student pass an interview. Now, going to the most common topics covered in the interviews, and that's the favorite question on every student about to attend the interview. What questions can I expect? Look at the slide. The slides will be shared, but if you want, take a screenshot because these are the questions really. Now, these are topics, not actual questions, but you can expect all questions around these topics. So my advice is, after you do your research about the university, about yourself, about the location, you understand your finances, you thought about your future plans, you understand your course, come back to this slide and try to ask yourself, would you be able to speak about all of these topics? So first of all, about you, your education background, your study gaps, if you have any. Are you able to explain what you have been doing during your study gaps? Perhaps your study gaps are even beneficial to your future plans. Or perhaps during your study gap, you realize you want to do something else with your life, and that's why the course changed. Think about your study gaps. Although they're sometimes treated as a red flag, sometimes they can actually be a very big, massive green flag in your application if addressed correctly. Previous work experience and why you want to study now. Why now? If you have a study gap, why not 3 years ago? Why now? Your course choice is a second topic. So why this course? What you will learn, so for example, the modules. Have you looked at the modules? And don't learn them by heart. We are so tired of students coming in and just going as if they just learned a poem by heart. I will study this, this, this. We don't need that. We don't need you to learn this modules by heart. We need you to understand the study program, and we need you to understand what the modules are. You don't need to learn the names by heart, and doing so might actually hinder you because that does sound scripted. How it matches your previous studies, if you have studied before, and skills you expect to gain from studying this course. Also think of your university choice. So why this university? There's thousands of universities in the world. Why this one? And no matter which university you decide to go to, this is going to be the main topic. So why this one? Why no other university? So have you also done research about other universities? It's also the location awareness. Where is your university located? And facilities or strengths of the university. Try not to be vague or try not to have generic answers. Don't say that you chose a university because of a library. Every university, I can guarantee you, in the UK has a library. So you choosing this one because of a library doesn't really make sense. So why did you choose UK for your studies? Why not other countries? Have you done research on other countries? Education system understanding, graduate visa awareness, and work rules for students. Also, be prepared to speak about finances. Who is sponsoring you? What is their source of funds or your source of funds? Make sure you understand the tuition fee and living costs and payment plan understanding. My advice here is if you're, let's say, an undergrad student and your parents are paying for you, or you're a graduate student and your parents are paying for you, even if somebody else is paying for you, it's still your future. You still need to understand finances. And also practice to speak in British pounds and not your local currency. If you are saying your local the tuition fee in your local currency and you're asked to convert it on the spot, you have no phone with you, you have no calculator. So you don't want to be in that situation. Learn the finances in local currency, so in UK British pound. Also think about your future plans. So what jobs are you looking for after graduating? Have you tried to apply to them already? Why do you need this course for the job? Industry you want to enter, and how the degree helps your career, and plans in your home country after you returned from the UK. Now, a general rule of thumb is also if you submitted a document, be prepared to also speak about it. Sometimes the interviewers, no matter in which stage, ask you about a document you have submitted. So if you submitted the document 3 months ago, such as your statement of purpose or even academic documents, and your interview is only now, just go back and look at your documents. You don't want to seem non-genuine just because you forgot what you uploaded or forgot what you wrote. Everything you say in every question needs to be consistent with what you said before in your previous interviews, in the beginning of the interview, what you will say later, and also consistent with your documents. So how are interview outcomes assessed? So interviewers compare your answers to your application form, personal statement, academic history, financial details, future plans. They're also checking your consistency, logic, understanding, and genuine intention. And I'm going to be bold enough to say the genuine intention is probably up the list now. And how can you seem genuine? By doing your own research, being honest, and not trying to go by somebody else's script. So what are the most common mistakes? Why do students fail these interviews? So number one, as I mentioned throughout this webinar, is the memorized answers. There's so many ways today to find scripts, or someone's even handing you them without you asking. It's really important that whenever you're handed the script, you crumble the paper and you throw it out. Oh, we live in the 21st century. Drag the email to the bin. You don't need it. Memorized answers is something that's going to make you fail. it's not only what I mentioned before, like the how your voice sounds, etc., but it's not only the main questions the interviewers ask. They ask follow-up questions. And if you memorized an answer and it's not true to yourself, you won't be able to keep up with the conversation. No course knowledge is also a big mistake. There's a lot of times in life when you can go through something with just generic knowledge. Um, Interview is not one of those. So you need to understand your course, not learn modules by heart, not learn credit hours by heart, but understand what you will learn. So also poor explanations of gap and change of the course. So be prepared to speak. If you have a previous visa rejection, be prepared to explain how did that change now. If there's something in your profile that you believe that could raise a red flag, such as study gap or I don't know, your family's visa rejections, be prepared to speak about it. Hold your head high, shoulders relaxed. You're confident, you're good, and just be prepared to speak about it. Don't let it kick you off of your stream. So migration-focused answers. Um, I'm not going to explain this further. I think if you're a genuine student, this really should not be an issue for you. Generic university choice is one of them as well. So again, as I previously spoke, the generic answer. So why did you choose this university? Oh, I chose this university because it has a library, small class numbers, and the students seem to be happy. I can say this about every single university. That means it's generic. You need to be specific why this university. And financial confusion. This is a very growing reason, especially for some countries, of why students are being rejected. You need to be very confident in your finances. How you're going to be paying tuition fees, or how is your sponsor going to do that? How you're going to survive in UK, really? How you're going to pay for accommodation, about food, etc., etc. So try to avoid these mistakes, but also be confident. You know why you want to go to UK. You know why you want to study this course in this university. It's a big investment. Higher education is sought for in the world for a reason, and you know that yourself as a student. It's an investment of your money, but also investment of your time. If you are going, you know why. So just be honest, not only to the interviewer, be honest to yourself. Why do you want to come? And you will be just fine. I also wanted to address at the end of this webinar the common misconceptions I sometimes hear from students. So number one, I will not be interviewed. Others from the same region were not. So the truth is, interviews are triggered by risk profiles, not location alone. Never assume you won't be selected. Always prepare instead. So just because your friend that lives next door, went to the same school, and applies to the same university was not interviewed, doesn't necessarily mean you won't be interviewed. Sometimes it's a pick as well. So just don't assume you won't be interviewed. Prepare just in case. Now, number two, what I keep on hearing, it's safer to memorize perfect answers. Well, the truth is, over-preparing leads to scripted responses, which UKVI and other interviewers can easily spot. Understand, don't memorize. And at the same time, there's no such thing as perfect answer. I never heard a perfect answer. It's just no such thing. The perfect answer is the one that's true to yourself. The more I say what UKVI wants to hear, the better. So somebody told me that UKVI wants to hear this or this or that. That's not true. UKVI wants authentic, confident answers. Giving textbook replies without understanding often backfires. So be authentic, be yourself, but also do your research and you'll just be just fine. But with this, I'm going to go back to the Gina and we're going to open the Q&A session. So if you do have any questions about any of the UK interviews, please feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A section.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Saule. Really, really useful information, and I'm sure our attendees found it helpful as well. And as it's been rightly reiterated by Saule, it's really, really important that you actually go into every stage of your admission process well prepared. So, be it consultation, be it pre-CAS interview, but also potential UKVI interview, because ultimately, we don't want you to fail. We want to make sure that you are confident enough in terms of the knowledge you have about the university, the program that you applied for, and other obviously items as well. So please ensure you have done your research. If needed, do speak to the team on the ground. They're happy to support with mock sessions. We also arrange plenty of webinars to equip you with the knowledge that you may need to prepare for the interview. So please do ensure that you make the most of each opportunity given to you to prepare. And like I said earlier, in the webinar, we do have plenty of webinars recordings on our channel to also support you to prepare with those interviews as well. All right, let's see whether we received any questions. Yes, we have. So do we receive the slides? Yes, so we will be sharing the recording and the presentation with you later on, so you can go through it once again if needed. Triple CU computer science tuition fees. So the next available intake for computer science programs is in September. So please double check the information on September intake programs, but ultimately it's £17,000. So it's slightly higher than the previous year, which is quite common with UK universities. They do increase tuition fees. However, like I mentioned earlier, for MBA, MSc International Business, which are available for May intake, tuition fee remains the same of 15,500 minus £1,500 scholarship and minus potentially early bird discount. If you pay outstanding fees prior to enrollment, obviously once you've secured your visa, you arrived in the UK, enrolled. So this helps you to save in total £2,500, which is a great, great saving. Your voice is echoing. Hopefully that was sorted. But like I said, we will be sharing recording with you in case if you missed anything. And the presentation, I can see another question. Okay, I think Sally, you wanted to take the next one. Do you take live interviews apart from the recorded ones? I guess they are referring to the consultation powered by the AI tool of in uni, as it's easy for students to express themselves in a live interviews. That's a very good question, actually. Thank you, Farouk. Saule, would you like to take it?
So that's a great question. And yes, we do. So if you were invited for in uni interview, which is by artificial intelligence, and you would prefer a human interview, you could always email us in the same email address that you received the link to join. And we can always conduct a human interview as well if you prefer one. Now, for other interviews such as UKVI or pre-CAS interview or academic interview, these are usually live interviews with a human, so you don't need to worry about those. But within uni, you always have an opportunity to ask for a human interview as well.
Fantastic. So that's really good to know for everyone in case if you're not comfortable maybe with AI interview or just prefer to, to talk to a human, that's also feasible. So we do have that separate consultation link that is shared with you, so you can book it via the link, because I know actually quite a few students do prefer to talk to a human being sometimes. So yes, the option is available. Could you please tell me how long it takes for the university to schedule an interview after an application is submitted? Saule?
So it really depends on which interview. For some interviews, you will get a link and you will be able to schedule it yourself, such as a consultation. So it takes from 0 minutes to a week, depending on yourself. For the rest, the pre-CAS interview, now my advice would be Try to complete your application as soon as possible and try to submit your documents without delay because the further away you are from deadlines, the more interview slots there are. Now, if you are closer to the deadline, you can imagine the amount of students applying is significantly larger, meaning that you might need to wait longer and sometimes even miss deadlines. So the sooner you complete your application, the quicker you will get the link to interview. That's a golden rule here.
Fantastic. Thank you. So the speed is the key. And given that for May intake, the university is already able to conduct pre-CAS interview and to issue CAS as well. As you know, in the UK, students can receive CAS 6 months prior to the start date. We do strongly encourage you to submit all outstanding documents in case if you have already received your conditional offer letter or apply as soon as possible, ideally this month without any delay, so that we can process your case. You can go through all the stages, receive your unconditional, pass your pre-CAS interview, and then proceed with the deposit payment of £5,000. But again, depending obviously which region you're coming from. And just to reiterate once again that if you do apply at early stages of the interview, then you have a little bit of, at early stages of admissions process, you have a little bit of flexibility because when it comes to the actual start dates and the deadlines, if you apply too close to the deadlines, the admissions, the compliance get incredibly busy. So it may take a little bit longer to process your application, for you to receive unconditional offer letter, wait for the interview, etc., etc. So it's definitely worth applying early, especially if you are already prepared for your chosen program and for your application. Who is likely to be selected for UKVI interview? That's $1 million question. Sauli, I'll let you answer that.
So I think we covered it a little bit during the webinar. I do hope you can hear my voice clearly. I have a few questions,
I
a
can.
few.
Mm.
You can. All right, wonderful. Right, so you will be selected for your KVI interview, not based on luck, but based on your profile. So it could be your region, your application form, etc., etc. We don't fully know who will be selected. UKVI have their own metrics, and we can only guess if you will. My biggest advice is prepare just in case. It won't hurt you really.
Perfect. Thank you. Would there be any tricky questions?
So I love this question. And the answer is simple. If you're not scripted, no, because if you're preparing with a script, you might get a question that you did not prepare for. But if you didn't prepare with a script and didn't prepare for most common questions, but actually did your research, there shouldn't be really tricky questions like an exam where a meaning is hidden within a question. They're straightforward about you, your application, your background, and your intentions.
Perfect. Thank you. How many times can students perform an interview if they failed at first one? Well, normally they're given one chance only. Sauli, anything you would like to add on that?
So it's one chance only. It depends, however, which interview stage. So UKVI, one chance and one chance only. There's no other way. Pre-CAS interview, you might get another chance if there were technical difficulties approved by the university and noted by the university. While a consultation is a bit more simple, if we can see that you were just lacking a bit of research, you might get a second chance, but not a third one. But it really, really depends on you. What I would like to highlight, if you were scripted or if you were cheating in any shape or form, you get only one chance. That's it, and you will not be considered for any future intakes as well.
Thank you. Purpose of questions not related to academics and work ethics.
I love this question, and I think it's a very important one to address. I get it all the time from students. Why do they ask me personal questions? And in many many times in many circumstances, it's actually just the cultural difference. Sometimes when you
Mm.
join an interview with someone from UK, they tend to have a small talk about with you. Sometimes just about the weather, sometimes about you, and they might seem personal. Trust me, they're not. Sometimes the interviewer just sees you're nervous and tries to bring you up to confidence to speak about something that's not university, not future goals, but just about you. And it might sometimes feel personal, but it's just the interviewer trying to make connection with you.
Thank you. Um, if the student received the refusal letter saying that they were not genuine, who do they can actually consider a genuine student? I guess it's a good question. But it also ultimately is down to the UKVI to decide whether they consider someone a genuine student based on the interview questions and answers that the student provided. Is there anything to add to that, Saule?
It really depends. Genuine is a very, very wide phrase. I'd say go back to the PPT. We will share it with you.
Mm,
Usually when there's a rejection, there's a transcript and more explanation as well. It shouldn't be just if it's a UK visa rejection. If
mm.
it's, however, different countries, it would also really depend. So it depends really on your case. If you're really worried, do email us at interview at inuni.global.com, and we're going to try to help you understand why were you previously rejected.
Thank you. And just to clarify here, if a student had a visa rejection for the UK as a study destination, especially given that it's based on the interview, unfortunately, we wouldn't be able to take such cases forward, right? Just to make
Correct.
it clear so that students don't apply. Unfortunately, but if the visa rejection was for another destination, I guess it's case by case, so we can look into that. So the sooner you inform, obviously, the better. So the compliance and admissions team can look into that and go from there. What student can answer if interviewer will ask about the course? So why this program? Students need to learn in depth about this program.
Love this question because again, we're answering the question within the question. Students need to learn in
Mm,
depth about the program. That's the answer to this question. Fortunately, unfortunately, it does make your life easier because really all you need to
mm,
do is the research. So why this program really depends
mm.
on you, and there's not really a wrong question, a wrong answer, but I would advise to learn in depth about the program. Again, you're investing in your future, you're investing your money, your time. You should know the product you're buying. So that's your program in this case.
Perfect. Um, Namaste, madam. I have questions. For instance, if any student doesn't know what to do or study in their life after completing their grade 12, so the student takes a break of a year and then clearly understand what he wants to study, the specific subject, will this justify the gap? I mean, normally you need to justify any gap you have within your CV, whether you've been traveling, whether you've been preparing maybe for IELTS or another English test, or you've been doing some part-time work or volunteer work, or maybe studied a an additional qualification to kind of help you to decide as to what you want to do in future. But Sal, is there anything else we can suggest to students
Um,
on static apps?
so I'd say just be honest. There was a reason why you decided to take a study gap, even if it was unintentional in the beginning. Try to also think, why are you coming back to studies now? Not before, but why now? And just be honest. And honestly, 1 year is not such a long time as, let's say, 5 years, and it's easier to explain. So just be honest. And even the way you ask this question, I can see that you are on the right track because you're already in this question explaining why. And that is not a bad explanation if it's true to you.
Perfect. Thank you. Um, can we ask for revaluation? Okay. So if the interview was rejected for any technical uh issues, or handling point of view. So I guess it's more to do with technical side of things. Can that be rearranged for students?
So all your interviews will always be recorded. So remember, if you're asking for reevaluation based on technical issues, for example, you can't just draw it from a thin air. Your recording would be reviewed by a committee to check if that was actually a problem. And if they decide that it was, you may get this opportunity. However, a very important note here as well. If you join an interview and you cannot hear the interviewer well, tell the interviewer. It's really, really important. Because if you cannot hear the interviewer well and you're still trying to answer, that might be deemed as your poor English, that you don't understand English. If you don't tell them that you can't hear them, it will be deemed as poor English. So tell them. It's literally nothing wrong to have technical issues. We all worked from home in lockdown. It happened to all of us. It happened to them as well. They will understand. Also, if you didn't understand the question, tell the interviewer. They will rephrase. It's not a bad thing. It's better than being deemed as did not understand English.
Perfect. Thank you, Saula, and consider more thanks coming your way for answering questions so well. Just to also let everyone know, in case if you happen to be from some of the northern states in India or Telangana, perhaps Hyderabad, we have just received an update from the university, so we accept applicants from those states. Please do reach out to our team in India on the ground, so they can advise you further as to who exactly, which qualifications to accept, what the criteria is, and other requirements. But ultimately, it's really good news. So we've opened up to additional territories in India, which previously, unfortunately, were a bit restricted for some time. So if you are a student or if you're a partner, perhaps who works with students from those areas, you can submit applications via GAS Gateway already. But any questions, like I said, do reach out to our relevant team and they will guide you further. And you can already apply for May intake from those regions as well, which is fantastic. Additionally, for Nigeria, in case if you had any issues with having your proof of English accepted, so currently WIC and NECO are accepted without having to provide MOI, which is fantastic. Update we've received from the university as well, so please ensure you submit your applications as soon as possible. In case if you maybe had conditional previously where you actually submitted WIC meeting requirement, so do let us know. So the admissions is also looking into that, and they will guide you further in case if you now have an updated conditional offer letter, which is good. Okay, who will conduct the consultation? The university's country representative, so someone from the compliance department. So spots on here, it's compliance team of an uni who conducts consultation. If you are going through the actual live human consultation, or it can be powered by AI as well. So it also depends which region you're coming from. And obviously, in some instances, you actually have a choice as to whether to go through AI consultation or a human consultation. Is there anything else to add to that, Saule?
No, I think you answered it. Thank you very much, Dagina.
Perfect. Thank you. I know we're running out of time, so I'll just try to be very, very quick. What are the points, except rankings, teaching methods, campus facilities, should the student mention in answer whilst comparing the selected university with other universities?
So I would look at it from a different prism. Number one, think about why are you selecting this university? So if you're selecting this university, let's say, I don't know, I'm going to give a very generic example, but because of the location. So then speak about other universities comparing their locations. If you selected it for a specific program, compare the universities with a specific program, why this one's different. If you selected a university because they offer good future progression, compare the universities about your future progression. If you said that you chose the university for the facilities, compare the other universities for the facilities. Choose at least a few of the reasons why did you select the university, and that's how you can compare with other universities. That will also make your profile consistent. That's the consistency we spoke in the webinar. So why did you choose the university is a very, very good ground to also compare these reasons with other universities, and that's how you will prepare for both questions at the same time.
Perfect. Thank you. Sometimes the interviewer asked random questions that never relates to the course or anything. So how should the student react to those? I guess firstly and importantly, do stay calm. There could be some questions off topic. Obviously, the interviewer wants to make sure that you have acceptable and good communication skills to be able to elaborate on some questions which are not necessarily related to the course or university itself. Saule, that's your expertise here. Anything else to
I
add?
would say that what sounds like a random question for you is not necessarily a random question for interviewer. They're not just taking them out of a thin air. They know why they're asking it. Your job as a student is to stay calm and don't be thrown away with it. It's sometimes also to check if you're scripted, if your voice sounds robotic on questions you're expecting. And then they ask you a question they know you wouldn't have prepared for, and then they compare how you answer those, compare your English level, etc. So just be confident. If you're a genuine student, you have nothing to worry about. And these random questions are sometimes an opportunity for your personality to shine as well, which can help your application too. So sometimes these random questions, actually, often these random questions are to help you and not to hinder you.
Perfect. Thank you. Um, if a student fails pre-CAS interview, can they apply again for the next intake? Well, when it comes to triple CU, it can only be the following intake. So you need to have like an academic year gap to ensure that you are better prepared. So it's not immediately the next intake, right, Saula?
That's correct.
Perfect. Thank you. And for Hartbury, obviously the interview is conducted by in uni compliance team in the first instance. So is it the same approach?
Uh, for the 3-year study gaps, right?
No, if they
The question,
fail, so if
sorry, I
they fail
missed
the
it.
interview, okay, yeah, if they fail in uni compliance interview for
Mhm.
Hartford University, can they retake number one? So I guess that will depend on the student's profile, the reasons why they failed, etc. Or alternatively, can they be considered for the next intake in case if they're interested?
So it really depends why you failed an interview. If you failed an interview because you cheated or you were scripted, you will not get another opportunity. But if you lacked research or let's say English level was not up to the mark, you would be able to try again, train a little bit, get more confident and come back.
Perfect. And do keep in mind that the main intake for Hartbury University is in September. So that's when all the programs are available. So please ensure you're well prepared for your interview. Obviously, it's quite specialized programs that Hartbury offers alongside some business related ones as well. So you should really have done sufficient research about the university, the campus, the facilities, why you chose this course, and obviously compared it to other providers as well. If the study gap is up to 3 years, does it matter mostly for rejections in bachelor's programs? So again, if we're talking about triple CU here, especially, they do exercise flexibility when it comes to study gap, but like I mentioned earlier, any study gap needs to be justified within your CV and elaborated on within your personal statement. Again, to reiterate, we did have previous sessions on personal statements, so please ensure that you didn't use AI content for your personal statement. And obviously, it's written by yourself, and that's where you can basically shine and elaborate as to why you had study gap, whether you've been pursuing another qualification, maybe preparing for IELTS, another English test, or did something else. And you can also elaborate it in your interview and your consultation as well. Can you repeat about the Nigeria? So for Nigeria, we do accept WAEC or NECO, so you don't have to provide MOI, which is great. If you're coming from other countries, let's say from India, for example, there are certain boards that can be accepted as a proof of English, especially those in South, including Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Maharashtra as well, Gujarat, CBSC, CIC. So there are a few boards. Please do double check with your relevant in uni CCC representative on the ground for further information on proof of English that is being accepted by CCC. Okay, in my observation, previous September intake, answering wrong modules, interview. Modules. So the information on modules you can find within CCC website. So please look into that before attending your interview. So that may help to get the up-to-date information. You're right that sometimes universities do change their course structure a little bit just to make sure that it's competitive with what is offered also by other providers, but also employability is the key. So CCC is in top 10 for employability in the UK, which I believe is a great achievement considering there are 100 plus universities in the UK. So they do adapt their course structure from time to time just to make sure that you have higher chances of employability. They have a very strong career services department as well, so they can support you with not only finding part-time jobs, but also potential placements, internships, and also securing full-time jobs after graduation. As you're probably aware, in the UK, if you have graduated successfully, completing either bachelor's or master's degree, you are entitled to apply for, as we call, post-study work visa or graduate route visa for 18 months. So that gives you a chance to gain some work experience from within the UK. So yeah, the mail for the interview recording receives after the deadline. The interview recording, I'm not clear on that question. Yeah, so maybe you'd need to elaborate, or just please do email us on that question if needed. Okay, what could be the best possible answer by a student if asked, how did you research about your chosen university? If student finds answers from Google, ChatGPT, etc., are they reliable? This.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't be able to answer the question, where did you do the research? Google and ChatGPT. That cannot be the end of your question. So I went on Google and I looked for specific type of universities, and this university was one of them. And that's why I checked on here, and then I checked on here. So tell the whole story. Don't just give platforms. Tell how you did the research, not only where. And don't just
Mhm.
answer it with ABC, but tell the whole thing. Also, be careful with ChatGPT. It doesn't always give the correct answers. Be very, very careful and always double check. But you can tell in the answer, I looked at ChatGPT and then started double checking what ChatGPT told me. And that's how I started my research. Brilliant. But your research cannot be just Google or ChatGPT. One of the conversations I saw between a student and UKVI is when the student said, I Googled the university. Right, but you didn't just dream of the university's name one day, waking up and Googling it. You got the university's name from somewhere. You couldn't just have Googled it. So where did you find out about the university? So tell the whole story. Don't just give platforms.
Perfect, thank you. And the last questions, I guess, because we've already run out of time. Apologies. Can students make payments in one go? Can they pay in installments? Yes, you can absolutely make payments in one go. In fact, we actually encourage that because it saves you obviously on additional bank fees, but in some regions, especially higher risk regions considered by the UKVI as high risk, you may actually have higher chances of securing your visa if you've cleared your tuition fee in full. And also, like I mentioned, for May intake, we do have early bird discount, which means instead of 15,500, you only pay £13,000 if you've covered the full payment prior to enrollment. So perhaps it's actually a good idea to pay in one go before going for a CAS, and then obviously apply for your visa once you've secured your CAS. So yes, good question. Thank you. As you spoke about, okay. We will look into the specific entry criteria. Perhaps you best to reach out to your relevant in unit triple CU representative, so they can look into your qualifications, into specific cases with your educational background or study gaps, etc., and provide you with the answer. Or what you could do is just file applications via GAS Gateway if you are our partner and you have the agreement with us already. So this way, our admissions will actually make the initial assessment for you to see whether your qualification is accepted, whether it's suitable as an English proof as well, if that's what the question is, etc., etc. But ultimately, when you submit your application via the portal, at present, we're trying to streamline the process as much as we can, because we understand that you would like to receive your offer as early as possible. So if you are coming from regions outside of Pakistan, for example, all you need to submit is a completed application form via GAS Gateway portal, passport and educational documents, just so that our admissions can make initial assessment and issue with conditional offer letter. If you're coming from Pakistan region, then you will just need to, in addition to the documents I've mentioned, which is passport, educational documents, you will just need to provide SOP and making sure, obviously, you haven't used AI content, which is really, really important to avoid your case being rejected. And please remember, you can only submit your SOP twice. So you only have 2 attempts to submit. So it's really important that you submit SOP, which is well written, no AI content, and it's written by yourself, no plagiarism, right? So we do encourage you to prepare that before submitting your application if you're coming from Pakistan region. But like I said, for non-Pakistan applications, you don't have to provide your SOP from the start. In fact, what our admissions do is they helpfully share conditional offer letter with you. So directly with the student, obviously partners are also included, and provide SOP guideline, which we previously shared with everyone, but that's just to ensure that you understand exactly what needs to be included within your SOP to avoid it, being rejected. So please ensure you submit your applications as soon as possible, like I mentioned, this month, so that we can process your application and take it to the next stage of the process. All right, I think we've covered all the questions. So thank you once again, Saule. Really, really helpful. Yes, we will be sharing recording and the presentation as well. Stay tuned for more webinars to come for both Canterbury Christchurch University and Hartpury University as well. And I really hope you found this webinar really helpful to prepare you for your UK study journey. Thank you all, and thank you, Sukanya, for facilitating this webinar. Bye-bye.